this is Nisha Faye and welcome to my channel. If you haven't yet, please do subscribe and click the bell icon so that you are notified as soon as I do upload my next video. I know that it's been a while since I've done a video, but yeah, I don't really have a good excuse why not. Life. So today I'm going to be talking about a case that I've discovered through a friend. I've never heard about this case before until she brought it up, and it's the case of Chane van Earden, and her and her boyfriend were known as the Occult killers. I do need to do a small disclaimer. There is a little bit of animal cruelty involved in this case, and also the descriptions of the murder or what happened after the murder is not for the faint-hearted. So if you get squeamish very easily, I would suggest maybe not watching, but I will let you know. Chane van Earden did have what seems to be a normal upbringing. Although her mother did say that she was quite an odd child, she told Chane that the toys in her room would come alive at night, which in my view is not an odd thing to tell your children, given that there are movies set for children like Toy Story, where it's not really odd, unless you're showing your child movies like Chucky. But Chane didn't take it in the sense of a Toy Story. She decided to blindfold her dolls as well as tying them with shoelaces so that they couldn't harm her during the night, which is kind of odd. Her parents got a divorce when she was very young, and this is said to have brought a lot of instability into her life. Her mother did get remarried, and Chane and her stepfather did have a very good relationship, or at least on the surface that's what it looked like. And Chane's father said that, you know, they were happy and they had father-daughter activities, which we'll get around to very soon. Although Chane's upbringing was fairly normal, it is said that she used drugs and became sexually active at a very young age, around 14 years old. Chane was an artist and a writer. She did pretty cool art, which I will post some pictures of, but it is quite disturbing. If I was her mother, I would be slightly alarmed, because all of her subject matter is pretty much the same, which we'll also get to soon. She worked full-time as a graphic designer, and she was about to get a qualification in graphic design, and this was a year before this whole situation happened. In December of 2010, Chane introduced her boyfriend to her parents, Maartens. Maartens was 25 years old at the time of the crime. Now, there's not a lot of information about Maartens himself. I got a lot more information about Chane, but what we do know is that when he was 14 years old, he was diagnosed as a schizophrenic. To our knowledge, Chane didn't have any mental disorder, but she eventually did. A few weeks before the murder of the victim, Chane and her boyfriend joined Chane's family to do a fishing trip. Now, on this fishing trip, Maartens caught his first fish, and he was so proud and so happy. When they spoke to her parents about what Chane was like before this murder happened, they said that she's never been as happy than what she was with Maartens. She was laughing and smiling like there was nothing that could go wrong in the world. So they didn't suspect that anything was going bad within their relationship. On the surface, Chane and Maartens' relationship was pretty normal. When Chane and Maartens met, they realized that they both had the same fantasies, which were not normal to the outside world. So it was kind of them against the world. So they loved each other, and their fantasies and their beliefs in what they liked pulled them together. Now, they did have a lot of interest in the occult, and there is speculation that this murder was due to Satanism, but with all that I've read, and also with the interviews with both Maartens and Chane, they did say that they did look into Satanism, but that they didn't find the religion interesting, but they were interested in occult practices. Now, Chane and Maartens, I'm sorry that I'm laughing, it's just that this whole thing is completely ridiculous. They had rituals that they would do together. they would sacrifice cats. Chane would skin them and bury them in the garden, and they had rituals where they would cut each other together, like, I'll cut myself, you cut yourself, woo, fun times. No, just no. But this togetherness pulled them so much closer, and their bond was so big. Now, Martin said that Chane became bored of skinning cats, and she didn't want to harm a dog. She wanted to practice stitching human skin as well as flaying skin, but she didn't want to harm Martens, even though he said that he was down for it. So he said to her, why don't we get someone? You know, you really want to do this, and I love you, and I want to make you happy, so how about we get a victim and then you can practice on them? Now, this is where the victim comes in. So, Michael was 23 at the time that he was murdered. He met Chane on a cell phone network called To Go, which I've never heard of, but apparently it's still going on today. So they were chatting back and forth, and then they decided that they wanted to meet. Chane convinced Michael to meet her at the Welkom cemetery, which I'm not kink shaming or anything shaming. But no matter what you're into, meeting someone in the middle of the night at a cemetery for the first time that you're meeting them, your first date, that's a little bit weird. Like McDonald's and chill, I don't know. Like there are other things that you could do. It's very weird. Cemeteries are not that safe. They met at the cemetery and they said that they did drink alcohol before Chane ended up killing Michael. I couldn't find out how exactly Chane killed Michael. I know that she's the one that murdered him. Her boyfriend didn't have any role in that, although he did help her in dismembering Michael's body. So after he was murdered by Chane, she decapitated him, and then Maartens and Chane went through stages where they would cut off an arm, a leg. The legs were cut off from the knees, and then some body parts were buried at the cemetery and some body parts were taken away home to their flat in Welkom. So the day after Chane and her boyfriend murdered Michael, Michael's car was found abandoned at a taxi rank, and the police immediately contacted Michael's parents. Now, they knew that Michael was going to go and see a girl, and his mother was very excited about the fact that he's actually going to go out on a date. So a little bit about Michael is, from what I can see, he is a family man. He spent most of his time with his parents, at home, just relaxing. He was a Christian, he didn't drink, he didn't smoke, so he was a good child. And he didn't go out a lot, he didn't meet a lot of girls. So when he told his mother that he was going to meet this girl and go on a date, she was excited for him. And he said to her that they were going to go to the movies. There is a book that was written about this crime, and I will link it in the description below. But in this book, they do say that when Michael left, which was about 9 o'clock in the evening, which is pretty late to go on a date in my mind, but anyways, not judging, Michael's mother was a little suspicious in the beginning, because when Michael exited the gate, he went left, but she knew that the place where he said he was going to be going was actually turned right. But she didn't think further than that, because maybe he was just going to go on a other route. Maybe he was going to go for petrol or go to the shop or cafe or whatever. So it wasn't that suspicious. But Michael never told his parents exactly where he was going. However, Michael did tell his employer exactly where he was going in case anything happened to him. His employer was interviewed the day after he was murdered, because he was missing. And his employer was the one that actually told police that he was missing because he didn't come to work, which is not like Michael at all. So when they asked him, he said, okay, well, I know that he's going to meet this girl at the cemetery. And the police were like, the cemetery? That's not what the parents said, but okay. And he said that Michael was very scared. Not really scared, but hesitant to meet this girl at a cemetery. He found it very weird that she would suggest that, but he really wanted to meet her, and so he was going to do it anyway. But he would just tell him, like, this is where I'm going to be in case anything should happen. Yeah, famous last words. Police found Michael's body at the cemetery. It was actually at the Jewish section of the cemetery. They found 2 glasses that would end up being belonging to Chane, which had alcohol in them. And there were also beer cans, I believe, that were found there. And the family of Michael, they found this very strange because he didn't drink. So maybe he felt pressured into drinking. We don't know. Chane and Maartens were arrested roughly a week after they murdered Michael. Now, Chane, when she was interviewed, they said that she was very emotionless. That when she was talking about what she did, it was like she was speaking from a book. Like it was matter of fact, like you would say, the dog sits on the rug. Like it was alarming to them, chilling even, the way that she spoke about what she did. So when they went to her flat, she said, I know why you're here, you can come with me. And they went to the fridge, and the investigators were a little bit alarmed. And she took out this plastic bag and she rolled it open, and the investigator thought that it was a pizza base or dough. But on closer inspection, you realized that it was Michael's face. So the day after Chane and her boyfriend had dismembered Michael, when they decapitated his head, she took it home and then she cut his face off. So she actually did it with such precision. It was like right around the line of her face, and there it was. The eye holes in the mouth were sewn shut. His ears and eyes and his, I believe his tongue, were found in a jar in the fridge, like right next to his face. And she just, it's like, yeah, there's milk in the fridge, go fetch it. Like that's kind of a way that she was speaking about it, and it was very, very alarming. It was very unsettling for them. She also then would later that day tell the investigators where the remainder of his body was. I know that one of his limbs was actually found in her cupboard, which is really odd, but okay, this whole case is really odd and crazy and just wow. So yeah, she buried some of his body parts next to the cats that she had killed as well. So that was lovely. Now, I don't know what it is about people that murder, but there's this tendency for them to get engaged like shortly after they kill someone. So Chane and her boyfriend, a couple of days after they had killed Michael, they went to Chane's father and asked permission for them to get married. What? Like, it just... Why are we doing this? Like, They were arrested, and there was a psychological profile done both on Chane as well as Maartens. Now, they did find out that Maartens was schizophrenic, but he had been taking his medication. Now, Chane, on the other hand, she was diagnosed with a specific mental disorder. It's called shared psychotic disorder, so I'm just going to read it verbatim. It's an unusual mental disorder characterized by sharing a delusion among 2 or more people who are in a close relationship. So, they believe that because she had this mental disorder, she embodied her boyfriend's schizophrenia. When they were interviewed, Maartens said that he truly didn't believe that either one of them would have killed anybody if they weren't in a relationship. That the only reason why they ended up killing Michael was because they loved each other so much, they shared the same beliefs, and they pushed each other to commit the murder. But if they were separated, it never would have happened. Chane, on the other hand, said that if she wasn't caught, she was going to kill him. She had no doubt of that. Even now that she's in prison, she still has the same thought patterns. She still wants to do the same things. She's not changed or affected in any way about this murder. Now, Chane was convicted of murder, so she's now in prison. But Maartens was only convicted a little bit later because he went through a 30-day psychological profile with a psychiatrist. And when he was speaking to a psychiatrist, he told her that he wanted to die, but he wanted to go to heaven so that he could apologize to his victim for the murder, even though he didn't actually commit the murder, but he feels a lot of guilt. He had a lot of sympathy towards the family, even though when you read about how he was acting the day that they arrested him, he had the same, I can't explain it. He was arrogant. When they were looking inside their flats for evidence and everything, he made a remark where he said, the police are useless. Nobody's even watching me. I could be tampering with evidence. I mean, who in their right mind? Yes, he's schizophrenic and this whole thing, you're not in your right mind. But who says that? Who says that to an investigator while they're standing there? I understand you saying it to like your friend when no one's around, but the arrogance. I don't know. This whole case is just crazy. So, remember when I said that Chane and her father had father-daughter bonding time? So her stepfather decided that the way that they were going to get to know each other was he was going to teach her how to hunt and skin animals. And she got really good at it. So this is where she got the tools and the knowledge to be able to do what she did to Michael's face. And just the dismemberment, the overall dismemberment of his body. And it's kind of shocking to me. Like, on one hand, you think to yourself, okay, maybe you shouldn't be teaching your children that, especially a young girl. But on the other hand, given the way that our world is currently going to crap at the moment, or maybe, well, don't shoot me, maybe we will need those kind of skills. But knowing that she was already somewhat mentally just not right. I mean, never have I ever heard of someone blindfolding their teddy bears because, or their dolls, because they think that they're gonna harm them. But nothing makes sense. Now, Chane was a writer and an artist, and one of her writings struck me quite heavily. So I'm just going to read it for you, because I don't want to get anything wrong. But tell me if this sounds familiar to you. When I woke up this morning, I realized that I had nothing to wear. So I thought for a while and came up with an idea that would change the world forever. I remember I have some old material in the back of my cupboard. I think it's called skin. So since I have some time to spare, I stitched some skin together, forming a suit. It was quite tight fit, so I had to stitch it into my own flesh, otherwise it would slip off and that could get quite messy. So I kind of believe that had Chane been given the opportunity, she probably would have made a suit made out of human flesh. But that's just my thoughts on this whole deal. The whole thing is just crazy. What the frick? She seems so sweet and so gentle, and then no, she's really not. She is nasty. Chane and her boyfriend were tried separately. So Chane was actually tried as a serial murderer because they believe that she would have killed a lot of people had she not been caught. And she's serving 20 years to life in prison. Hopefully she stays there forever, because I don't think that she should ever be let out. just my personal opinion. Maartens was sentenced to 10 years for robbery, so for stealing Michael's car, and then a further 5 years for desecration of a deceased body. So yeah, because he wasn't tried for actual murder, you can assume that he didn't kill Michael. But I still would love to know how they actually killed him, because Chane is she doesn't look like the strongest person, so I believe that her boyfriend would have had to help her. So that is the case of Chane van Eck. I hope that I didn't ramble too much. It's just, this whole case is weird. But I'm glad to be back, and I hope that you enjoyed it. Please leave your comments below what your thoughts are, because I would love to read about them, just because this case is crazy. Thank you for joining me, and have a lovely day, and also stay safe. Bye!